Hey, what's going on, team? It's Ricky with TechBud Solutions, and a question you might be having is, how do you know you are ready to begin to trade with more money? That's what I mean by scaling, right? And I think that's kind of the goal for anyone in doing anything. As you're learning how to do something, especially if you're learning how to do something effectively and efficiently, your account size, and this is, I think, a big disconnect that a lot of people don't understand. I was someone that didn't understand this when I was first getting started. Your account size as you're learning how to trade should resemble someone who is learning how to trade. If you are someone that does well, or if you have access to a large amount of money, you're still a beginner. And at the end of the day, you need to build your foundation of understanding what to do and what not to do, especially when it comes down to such a free market like the stock market. And in this video, I want to talk about two main focuses and then a third little tip I hope can guide you in the right direction. So I really hope that throughout this video, if you learned something new, you can consider dropping a thumbs up. So I want to start this video off by first highlighting the first step that I would take into consideration is the goal that you set for yourself, right? I think because, talking about the stock market and there's just so much to learn, a lot of people might suggest, okay, well, you need to make sure that you have these patterns figured out. You might have, you have to make sure that you have these indicators figured out. There's so many different trading styles, right? And I'm not here to say that one is better than the other. I think at the end of the day, when you're beginning to do better and you're beginning to pick up on this performance, and you begin to ask the question, hey, I think I might be ready to scale from $2,500 to $5,000 or from $5,000 to $10,000. Those are big jumps. And one of the things that I want you to take into consideration is, I don't know what your daily goal is or your weekly goal is or your monthly goal is. All I know is that for myself and the way that I've scaled and have been able to scale effectively, and I've made mistakes along the way where I try to scale too quick, and it's easy when things are going according to plan, but it's when things don't go according to plan that this is when you begin to maybe kind of like touch on the idea, maybe I'm not ready. So if you have had an amazing track record the past couple of weeks or the past couple of months, and you're someone that's just getting started, but you haven't taken a big loss or because you haven't had to, the market's been very bullish since the COVID, recovery. And because of that overall direction, it's been, I don't want to say easy, but it's been much easier than before to not have to deal with so much risk management. And the first step that I would encourage you to kind of like ask yourself is your goal something that is challenging enough that you still have to work towards, but make sure that it's not so challenging that you end up breaking your rules or your set list of criteria. And I'm speaking to a lot of you, right? So again, this isn't going to, apply to everyone perfectly, but you get the general idea. And this is what I want you to understand. I want you to ask yourself, based off of your trading style and your criteria. I don't know if you trade penny stocks. I don't know if you trade ETFs or blue chip stocks. I don't know if you have a specific focus on momentum stocks or, IPOs. It doesn't matter. You have a set list of criteria, or you should, that every stock should meet. And I want to give you an example. I'm someone that buys and resells cars. And when it comes down to buying and reselling cars, I need to make sure that when I take advantage of an opportunity, it meets my requirements, that I understand the car, I understand what it's worth, I understand what I could sell it for to ensure that margin of profit. And that also, the maintenance and all that makes sense. I know that's a horrible analogy, but you get the point. You need to make sure that it meets your requirements as an investor or as a trader, because let's be honest, with thousands of stocks out there, it's not like you're trading every single one that's being thrown at you. So I would really begin to ask yourself the question, is your goal that you set for yourself on a weekly, daily, or monthly basis, is it still something that is challenging, that you still have to work towards it, but also not so aggressive that you end up breaking your rules? And I think one of the big indications that you should specifically look for is, I remember when I would set my goal at $250 a day, and this is when I was trading with a little bit over $25,000. So you can see the position that I was putting myself in. When it came down to trading with over $25,000, setting that goal of $250, I didn't find that goal of making $250 a day very difficult anymore. So that's when it began to make sense that, hey, maybe I can increase my goal to $300, $400, $500. And I began to test things out. And again, nothing's set in stone. This is all something that you can test See if it's challenging enough, and if it's too challenging, then you can always, take a little bit of a step back. You don't have to have it all figured out when you're just getting started. So again, understand that you have nothing but time. And the second thing that I also want to make sure that I highlight throughout this video is, I know it's super repetitive and I sound like a broken record, but it's risk management. And I know you guys are like, oh my God, here he goes again. I can't stress this enough. Scaling when you're just getting started, especially if nothing has gone wrong, can seem very easy. Oh man, I already doubled my account. You hear this all the time, where you scale, and then someone just loses it all. If you don't know how to manage your risk, it doesn't matter how green you are throughout the week, throughout the month. I know if you've been trading for a while, you've experienced this firsthand. Make sure to drop a thumbs up if you have. It's just part of the process. Where you feel invincible, everything's going according to plan, you work for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, and then it's just one bad trade and you give back everything plus some that you earned in the past month. And it's just a horrible feeling. Why? Because you had improper risk management. And what I want to remind you is this challenge of setting a goal. A goal is something to work towards. Not something that you have to hit every single day. There are going to be red days. Red days are inevitable. They're bound to happen regardless if you're a trader, swing trader, or investor. You just need to make sure that the dollar amount that you trade with is something that you're both effective and efficient. That it's not so much that when things go south, you freeze and you hesitate to cut losses. But that it's also challenging enough, right? A goal to work towards that really motivates you to get up in the morning. And I think that this is a nice balance. Each and every single one of you can condition yourself to kind of work towards. It's not something that you're going to have figured out right away, but one of the simple things that I want to make sure I remind you is nothing in life worth having should ever come easy, and the stock market is no exception. It takes time, it takes practice, and it takes experience to be able to understand what you're putting yourself into, the opportunities that are worth taking advantage of. And this will begin to make more sense over time. And the last thing that I want to leave you with is how I view money when it comes down to the way I trade. This is just my opinion. But I view money in a sense of, especially in the market that I partake in, obviously, the more money, right, that you trade with, this is why you guys are watching this video, is because you guys want to make more money. And 100%, that's part of the benefits of being able to trade in the stock market. All I want to remind you is money is a vehicle. And you need to understand that you need to remove this emotional part out of this vehicle. You have nothing but time to scale. You have nothing but time to learn how to trade, learn how to invest. You have nothing but time to make money. It does take time. It takes time to build this experience, build your track record, and build your confidence. And over time, you will slowly and consistently get better. But please do not rush into this process of being so eager to try to make money. And the reason I say that is when I say that money is a vehicle, right? We are able to leverage it to make more. I don't just want to talk about the potential for profit. You can easily lose more with more money. And right? It makes sense. But you're super excited right now. You're eager to begin to trade with more. I don't want to just talk about all the incentives and not talk about all the risk. So a step that I would encourage you to take is, as you begin to potentially trade with more money, for those that actually want to implement structure. In such a free market, this is not your 9-to-5 job. You're not going to be told what to do. There's not a set list of instructions that you have to follow. It's you're able to do and as you please. In such a free market, you need to implement structure and discipline. And for those that are actually wanting to take this seriously, if you have your set list of criteria that every stock has to meet, if you trade reversals, whatever it is that your criteria might be, I want you to be able to write down your trade. And it's just structure. Being able to write down where you plan to buy, with how much, where you plan to sell, with how much, if you're going to average up, where you plan to buy more. And if things do not go according to plan, I want you to write down where you plan to cut losses and what that dollar amount looks like. And this will allow you to visualize not just your profit potential, because that's all we only think about when we're just getting started, but it will also assist you in visualizing the dollar that you are putting at risk with that trade. So when you write it down that, hey, I'm going to trade Tesla, I'm going to buy a couple shares here, I'm going to sell here, I can make $200. I plan to cut losses here. It's easy to write that down. I'm going to cut losses here. But then when you write down the amount of money that you could potentially lose, 100, 150, whatever the case might be, however it is that you manage risk. This is just an example. You write down $150 you could potentially lose. So you're telling me that when you write that down, you see the upside is 200 and the downside is 150. When you see that and you're like, those odds, that opportunity cost, it's not worth it. And that's where you will begin to pick up on what opportunities are worth trading, why it's important to be selective, and why most of the time it's best to say no to these opportunities than to say yes, especially if you're under the PDT rule. And I'm guessing if you're watching this video and you're thinking about scaling, you most likely are. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm super excited to end 2020 on a green note, but I want to start it off on the right foot, and that's with proper structure. You guys have so much to learn, but the most amazing part about this is that you have so much time to learn it. So there's no reason to rush the process. It's something that you're simply just getting started. So I appreciate your guys' time. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you learned something new, I hope that we earned your thumbs up. I also do want to remind you, we do run the largest Facebook group in the world for those who trade in the stock market, and it's absolutely free, and it's the first link down below. You guys have most likely watched some of my other videos. I have nearly 2,000 free videos on YouTube, but if you perform better with structure and you want to work with me on a closer basis and watch me trade live every single day, I'm one of the few people that trade live every single day, and that's exclusively only with the Learn Plan Profit group. So if you have time, click the second link down below, learn a little bit more about it. We have a live trading session that you can kind of get a taste of what to expect. And if you like what you see and you're ready to join our team, click the second link and we will see you during our next live trading session. Until then, continue working hard, continue following dreams, let your passion be what drives your success. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.